Hey, you know what it is? Hit that like and subscribe below. Let's jump right into it. We got this lawsuit that's against Sean Combs. It took many people by surprise, but it didn't take me by surprise. Now, the set of what it is, a sports show, talks about hosted by Harlem rappers Cameron and Mace, is normally a pretty raucous space, but in late September, a long unanswered question between the longtime friends brought all of their profane mischief to a halt. When you had a record deal, Cameron said, turning toward Mace, why did you take me to Biggie Smalls and not Bad Boy? Now, for context, in the mid 1990s, Mace was an artist on Bad Boy Records. Now, the label founded by hip hop producer and mogul Sean Puffy Combs, that label was soon truly elevated by platinum star Christopher Wallace. Now, he's known globally as the Notorious B.I.G. and more colloquially as Biggie Smalls. Now, Mace's friend Cameron and yet to release a studio album, but he was making noise as an underground artist and he seemed destined for stardom too. You know, all these years later, this was apparently the first time they'd ever broached the subject. After a long pause, Mace attempted an answer. Man, it's almost going to bring me to tears to say this. Being that I saw you as such a good friend, I wanted to put you with somebody I knew would. Now, don't have me on here crying and everything, Cameron said, but Mace powered through. I knew Biggie would do right by you. Now, the emotional moment was particularly notable because of what had gone unsaid between the friends. Now, that Combs was someone who would not do right by his artists, that he was to be avoided. That story came to mind last week. Now, when Combs was revealed to be facing a federal lawsuit filed by the former R&B singer Cassie, who accused him of rape and abusing and harassing her and her associates over more than a decade, in a 35-page filing that came with an unusual trigger warning Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura, alleged that Combs signed her to a 10-album deal with his label in February 2006. Now, when he was 37 and she was 19, Ventura's lawsuit says Combs spent the next year exerting increasing control over her professional and personal life until he eventually was plying her with drugs and pressuring her into sexual conduct during a trip to Miami in the fall of 2007. Now, within 2 years of meeting Mr. Combs, Miss Ventura found herself lured into the immediate circle of her boss. Now, the owner of her record label and one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, the lawsuit said, um, Combs offered an unequivocal denial, saying that through his attorney that Ventura had made a persistent demand of $30 million dollars. And this is some big news right here, people. Now, over the past 6 months, and was aiming to tarnish Mr. Combs' reputation. She wanted to do that defamity towards him, you know, infamous type of things. Now, a day later, Combs and Ventura announced that they had reached a settlement. In a statement, Combs said, "We have decided to resolve this matter amicably. Now, I wish Cassie and her family all the best. Love." Neither side released details about the terms of the deal, including how much money was exchanged, but Combs may have quickly closed off a potentially embarrassing and ominous legal process. But I don't think Ventura's accusations will soon recede from the public record. Now, the lawsuit seemed to resurface a torrent of information about Combs' alleged misdeeds on gossip sites and social media. Now, from the founder of the Baby Fat clothing line accusing him of threatening to hit her when she was pregnant, Combs reportedly apologized to her for this. Now, to his former chef suing him for sexual harassment and not fully paying her for overtime hours, that case was privately settled in 2019. Now, he's a fool if he thinks this is behind him. It is only the beginning. Dream Hampton, an executive producer behind the Lifeline Network docuseries Surviving R. Kelly, an iconic hip hop magazine writer, said on X, formerly Twitter, "Why was it such a floodgate moment? I suspect it's because many of the claims in Ventura's stunning lawsuit echo previously aired allegations and complaints against Combs, now 54, over his nearly 35 years in the public spotlight." One part of this suit in particular caught my attention as someone who's been reporting off and on in the recent years about the deadly rivalry between Combs and Marion Suge Knight, now who founded the competing Death Row Records. Now, Knight, a 6'2" former NFL defensive lineman who was affiliated with the Blood Street Gang, got a lot of the blame for the ongoing tension, and eventually landed him in the prison for his role in a fight with a Compton gang member that Nevada prosecutors believe led to the fatal shooting of rap superstar Tupac Shakur. Before that, he almost seemed to take pleasure in challenging Combs publicly, daring him to escalate their conflict. But I've long thought the Combs versus Knight feud was often cast the overly solicitous Combs as an unwilling foil to the biggest bully in the music business. Now, their deadly rival was never quite as one sided as it seemed, as the recent lawsuit perhaps underscores. Combs also had a penchant for violence and bullying that never seemed to slow his stardom. Now, Ventura's lawsuit against Combs made a number of extraordinary claims, all of them brought under a New York statute that temporarily allowed people who claim they are victims of sexual abuse to file suit after the statute of limitations has expired. Now, the window extended by that statute expired last week. In a statement, Ventura said, with the expiration of New York's Adult Survivors Act fast approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak up about the trauma I've experienced and that I will be recovering from for the rest of my life. Among her claims, that Combs coerced her over a number of years into, sexual misconduct with, males and females while he watched. He took pictures and shot video as part of a ritual he called freak-offs. And that, after learning, she referred to her grandfathers as Pop Pop. And Combs insisted she refer to him by that nickname, and that Combs once threatened to blow up the car of one of Ventura's former partners, the rapper Kid Cudi. Soon after he made that threat, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. Now, Cudi's attorney confirmed this story, which happened in 2012. And to the New York Times, before settling the suit, Combs denied all allegations through his lawyer. And all of this is disturbing to read because, when you think about it, the claim that really caught my attention was this: Ventura alleges that she and Combs were once using drugs at the home in Los Angeles when a member of the security staff burst into saying that Knight had been seen at a nearby restaurant. According to the lawsuit, Combs, got dressed, gathered a number of guns from his house, and he headed toward Mel's, hoping to confront Knight that same day. Now, why did this pique my interest? Let's get back to the arrest last month of Dwayne Keith Davis, better known as Keith D, on a murder charge in the death of Tupac Shakur. Now, Davis is believed to be the only one surviving member of the four Southside Crips who allegedly killed Shakur in a drive-by shooting just off the Vegas Strip in September 1996. Now, if you guys look at my past videos, you already know that I've been talking about that. I have the real videos, the footage, check those out. Now, Shakur was on Knight's death row label and was a rival of Combs and Wallace. In fact, Davis had a long, complicated the murder case by maintaining that Combs offered to pay $1 million for the deaths of Shakur and Knight. Now, Davis claims that he'd known Combs for several years by then, having met him through a drug dealing associate in New York named Eric Von Zip. Martin. Davis said Combs first asked him and the Crips to work security for bad boy artists in the mid-1990s. But that's all some recent news. I'm going to keep you guys updated. Hit that like and subscribe. Let me know where you're all from. Stay tuned. Have a good Thanksgiving.